They are ready to roll in Oakland, California. So too is Jim Schwartz and the Detroit Lions. You see the career numbers, but of course Detroit has gotten better and better in each of his 3 years and trying to get to the playoffs for the first time since '99. 45-year-old Los Angeles native Hugh Jackson, his first year as head coach with Oakland, spent last year as their offensive coordinator. The Raiders have not been in the playoffs since 2002. Carson Palmer coming over from Cincinnati. The Raiders winning the toss, but deferring to get the football until the second half. So Sebastian Janikowski does what he generally does and hammers it deep into the end zone. That'll bring out Matthew Stafford, the #1 pick in the draft in 2009 out of the University of Georgia. The beneficiary of 6 Minnesota turnovers last week through a pair of touchdowns, and they welcome back Kevin Smith to the backfield.
And that's big for them. They want to run the ball more. They're still going to win this game throwing the ball, but they're second to last in the league in rushing attempts. That love to balance that up today with Kevin Smith.
Stafford, outside of the 3 games where he threw all those interceptions with a broken finger, has had an outstanding year. He dumps it off to Logan, and that is a gain of close to 20 on the first play from scrimmage for Detroit. The Raiders defensively are without, once again, the cornerback Chris Johnson, sadly losing his sister in a shooting. His mother was also shot. She continues to recuperate back in Dallas.
They're also without starting safety Michael Huff. I want to see how Matt Giordano matches up with the tight end in Detroit, Brandon Pettigrew.
Smith has been bothered with that tender ankle that he injured against Green Bay. Came back the following week against New Orleans, re-injured the ankle again. We did not see him last week in the win against Minnesota.
And as I said earlier, the Detroit Lions know they need to have a certain amount of balance. They know where their bread is buttered, so to speak. They're going to throw the ball, but particularly on the road, you've got to at least have the prerequisite number of attempts just to try to keep a defense honest.
Watch it.
Well, you wondered about how they would defend Pettigrew and Johnson today. That's the first catch for Pettigrew. Take a look at the Green Bay Packers. Upset today in Kansas City. Their first loss, of course, of this 2011 year. And in Indianapolis, a proud franchise having a disastrous season without Peyton Manning, finally getting their first win of the year.
And that Detroit is that loss by Green Bay is substantial to Detroit. They closed the season against Green Bay. They'd love for Green Bay to not be playing for much in that game.
Overthrew Titus Young. So Detroit will punt on its opening possession of the game.
We talked about the one-on-one lineups with Calvin Johnson and what that would lead to. He took a shot with Titus Young down the field on a 3rd and short. I question that a little bit. You're going to see a lot of these one-on-one matchups for Detroit. I know Matthew Stafford's going to want to challenge it, whether it's Calvin Johnson, whether it's Titus Young.
Well, of course, penalties always a big story for both Detroit and the Raiders.
False start. Number 57. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
2 of the 3 most penalized teams in the NFL this year. In fact, the Raiders have led their conference in penalties every season going back to 2003.
And when you think of yourself as a playoff caliber team, and these 2 teams are in the thick of the playoff hunt right now, it can be as simple as those penalties and the yardage lost off of it that can make the difference in the game.
Ben Graham, the Australian punter, end over end, taken by Brian McCann. And a nice return up to the 33-yard line. So now Palmer and the Raiders get the football for the first time when we return.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
After a 2-game suspension, even the officials welcoming Ndamukong Suh back. That was aside Judge Keith Parham. We're suspended with Suh for that stomping of Green Bay offensive lineman Evan Dietrich Smith on Thanksgiving Day. Throwing a catch to Darius Hayward-Bay, the Raiders' leading receiver. Again without Darren McFadden, so Michael Bush again starts in the backfield.
And I talked about the Raiders getting some receivers back. They have got great speed. You just saw Hayward-Bay, Denarius Moore, Lewis Murphy. They can get down the field.
Not seeing McFadden since he was injured 7 weeks ago against Kansas City. They pitch it coming around the end to Denarius Moore, and he has a first down. Moore playing for the first time in a month. He's been out the last 3 weeks with an injured foot.
We talked about the speed of the receivers. Here you're going to see just the fake handoff and the little toss on the reverse. This is a great changeup for the Raiders. We said they had to run the ball well. They can go inside with Michael Bush, and they can get to the outside with all of these receivers. That's not the last reverse we're going to see today.
Gain of 13 yards, the ball at their own 49-yard line. And Palmer lays off the screen to Michael Bush. And a big play in the short passing game to the Detroit 34-yard line, a pickup of 17.
Well, naturally, when you talk about the pass rush of the Detroit Lions up the field, what do you want to do to negate it? Anytime you can get the screen game going, get these big linemen out in front of Michael Bush. He's kind of a downhill guy, but when you got nobody in front of you but except a couple big offensive linemen, you can go downhill for as long as you want.
Bush is their leading rusher. He's their second leading receiver. He laid a blow on Chris Harris, who's injured.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Chris Harris shaken up on that collision with Michael Bush. Oakland with the ball after Detroit's 33-yard line. First down. John Wemling in the game to replace Harris. And Bush plows forward inside of the 30, down to the 29-yard line. This is a big hit right here.
This is a big-time hit, and 2 guys coming in. Look at the way the neck just turns. Hopefully that's just a little bit of a stinger and a burner. That's easy for me to say because it's not my neck. But as opposed to a concussion, if that's just a burner that he'll deal with.
Harris walking off on his way back to the locker room. And Palmer out of the shotgun. Pitches it to Marcel Reese. And that did not fool Detroit defensively. Of course, what a dominant front four they have, especially with Suh back after the 2-game suspension. Avrill's having a monster year.
He is, and they're anxious to see if they can test the interior of the Oakland Raider offensive line, which is a little smallish compared to the Suh, Sammy Hill, Corey Williams. That's a lot of beef in the middle of the defensive line for the Detroit Lions.
Of course, Louis Jonas is not playing again. Has missed the last 3 weeks with the injured knee. So here's third down for Palmer. And it's caught, but it appears to be short of a first down by Chaz Schillings. So an early decision now for Hugh Jackson. It looks like it's going to be 4th down and a yard.
Right now, it looks like he's going for it. He knows the importance of this game. He also knows that points can be a premium against a team like Detroit that has put a lot of points up on the board. Being this far down, this close to the end zone, kind of hard not to want to go after it.
They bring in an additional offensive lineman, Stephen Heyer. And the Raiders call a timeout. Play clock is down to 2.
Timeout.
4th down when we come back.
Today's game is sponsored by Sprint. All football, no limits, only from Sprint. By State Farm. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. And by Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows, now playing in theaters everywhere.
Well, it's 4th down and less than a yard on this, the opening possession for the Raiders. And Hugh Jackson making the decision. He's going for it.
We talked about the Raider line being a little smaller than the defensive line of the Detroit Lions. Well, it's going to get tested right here because there's a whole bunch of bodies crammed in there from tight end to tight end.
And they're going to throw it. And wide open, and Palmer missed the receiver, Denarius Moore. My, oh my. The defender fell down in the end zone, and the pass was overthrown.
He gets tied up here, and just a little bit of a stumble. He is wide open, a little bit of a hold as he goes by. We saw in practice on Friday a lot of deep shots to Denarius Moore. They're thrilled to have him back. Needed just a tad more air on that one.
So no points on their opening possession, and now the Lions get the ball for the second time in a game, and they go right to Calvin Johnson, and it's batted away. Well played by Stanford. Route looked like it was in the midst momentarily of Johnson, and he just slapped it out of there.
Well, we've already seen a couple shots down the field. Detroit's taken a couple shots on that last 4th and 1 by Oakland. Big plays are going to be a premium today, and both are taking their shots.
Pettigrew. And he appears to have enough for the first down. They spotted at the 35, and it is.
You're going to see here Calvin Johnson cleared out for Brandon Pettigrew. This is a normal slant flat combination. Whichever way they want to react to it, and naturally they're going to gravitate towards taking away Calvin Johnson. That opens the door for tight end Brandon Pettigrew.
That looked like a botch play right from the very snap of it. No penalty flags, at least none we can see. That had a very odd look to it, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked like the entire Detroit Lion team didn't know the ball had been snapped, including quarterback Matt Stafford, and all of a sudden the ball was in his hands. Nobody moves. They're behind the count. They must have thought that they had drawn the Oakland Raiders offside and were waiting for either a whistle or a flag, and they got neither.
Give it to Smith, and he's up to close to the 39-yard line. We'll bring up the 3rd down to the Lions.
When you prepare for the Oakland Raiders, and this is our first chance to really look at the Oakland Raiders, everybody talks about the size and the athleticism of this defense, and you can see that. This is a big group. When we were out of practice on Friday, the size and speed of this group was eye-opening to me. Right now, they're not afraid to match up one-on-one across the board and run with it.
Batted away by Richard Seymour, the 6-time Pro Bowler. So for the second straight possession, it ends in a punt for Detroit.
Long reach. You're going to see Seymour right here. They just run a little stunt start inside, loop to the outside. All 6'6", plus add a couple feet with those long arms. That inside pass rush for a quarterback, all of a sudden you see nothing but silver and black.
So now Graham on the punt for the second time. And McCann stands back waiting at his own 15. Short punt. And when you kick it end over end like that, and that's the way Graham kicks it every time, you're not going to get a big bounce. Well, they're working on a couple of players, one on each side, both wear number 30. Apparently that's not a lucky number today. Raiders with the football for the second time and again. They give it to Reese, who brings it to the outside. Down the sideline. Still in bounds and run out of bounds all the way at the 20-yard line. Okay, this young man turns in some big plays.
They have a lot of confidence in this guy, not only in the running game, but in the passing game. Right there, walking down the sideline, not sure if he was out of bounds or not. Just as he comes in here, they may look at this. Looks like he's out of bounds. That likely will bring about a challenge.
Well, that's where they marked it. They'll have to call right at the 20-yard line. There's a challenge flag thrown on the field. Now, it looked like his foot stepped out where you see the black trim outside of the white line. And that is the 20-yard line, and that is where they have the football spotted. So perhaps Jim Schwartz feels as though he stepped out somewhere
Detroit
sooner.
is challenging the ruling on the field of where the runner went out of bounds.
So he didn't step out there. He did step out there, but you see it's a 20-yard line.
After reviewing the play, the runner stepped out of bounds at the 50-yard line. With the clock operator put 7:32 on the game clock, Detroit will not be charged a timeout.
And you can see he steps right here. They got a bunch of black and silver lines here. That's at the 50. They also have that at the 20. And you can see right here, that's right at the 50-yard line.
I beg your pardon, when I saw that black and white stripe, they have them on the 20s and at midfield.
Regardless, a good play. You see Khalif Barnes coming around here on a tackle trap, gobbling up a little bit of a hole there, just a little, but a huge hole. Again, we talk about it all the time against Detroit. These wide ends of the Detroit Lions sometimes create big running alleys through this wide 9 defense.
Well, they're thinking one way, and Averill throws down Carson Palmer, and he'll be flagged for it. I'm not sure Averill knows there's a flag down.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, number 92 of the defense. The quarterback was out of the pocket. 15 yards from the spot of the foul, first down.
And the key there, he is out of the pocket. You can see clearly he grabs him from behind with his hands in behind the shoulder pads. If this is within the pocket, there is no horse collar penalty inside the pocket, but clearly Palmer got outside the tackle box, and so the call came.
Well, the 40 penalties in their last 4 games, we talked a lot about it last week. As far as personal fouls are concerned, the Lions and the Raiders come in to this game tied for the most in that category in the NFL. And now Detroit, the dubious distinction of having the most. That's number 28. So first down. And Palmer looking for the long ball down the sideline. No penalty flag. And the flag is thrown in the 24-yard line.
Before the pass, illegal contact, number 23 defense. 5-yard penalty, previous spot, automatic first down.
That's Chris Houston.
And you're going to see here just a little nod outside, then he turns and goes up vertical. Houston spins out of it. The last minute gets just the subtlest of hands on him, but enough clearly to bring about the flag.
So again, we talk about the penalties, and you have to talk about it. And the difference they can make when you're down to these final 3 weeks. You're taking a look at Averill. He is having a great season for the Lions. Screen. Therese inside the 25. And a flag comes in again. This one, perhaps another horse collar on Stephen Tulloch. We'll see.
The second screen we've seen now. Now you're getting the fullback out in front of it. And at the very end, as he's coming down, the hand goes inside. You know, that's tough. It's a playing foul.
Horse collar tackle, defense. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
And you said it earlier, Tom, these penalties can kill you in a playoff run. As frustrating as that is the rule. It's for the player's safety. You've got to be more aware of where you're grabbing these guys, whether it's in behind the shoulder pad or even it's just a jersey. From behind, you cannot tackle like that.
Well, you look at this drive and you go back to the big sack, the apparent sack on Palmer. They would have made it second and forever. But a horse collar against Averill. The pass interference penalty. 4 penalties, 37 yards. They hand it off to Murphy. He finds the end zone. Louis Murphy, his 4th rushing attempt of the season, results in his first touchdown run.
Watch how this collapses him down. He chases the running back, allowing Murphy to come around the edge with no defensive end keeping contained.
The first half point scored by the Raiders since week 12 against Chicago. It's the first time they scored a touchdown in the first half of the game since week 11 at Minnesota. And now Sebastian Janikowski for the point after. Raiders failed to score on their first drive, missing on a 4th down. They cash in against Bandit Boston Lions this time.
Well, tough duty for Kyle Van Der Bosch. Watch what the left side does right here. As they play fake to Michael Bush, everything collapses down, and now they've got the perfect position for the reverse. What this does, besides getting a touchdown, is now you've got those wide ends hesitating, waiting for that next reverse to come. That opens up the inside alleys for the running game for the Oakland Raiders going forward.
3 penalties on that drive for 32 yards, and of course that's 3 for 32. It doesn't include the lost sack. So 7-0 Raiders, 6:19 to play in the opening quarter. Let's check in with Curt Menefee down the road in Los Angeles.
Well, of course, the Raiders keeping an eye on the Broncos and Patriots. Tim Tebow breaking tackles and going in from 9 yards out, but they missed the extra point, so then that's 6-0. But New England came right back. Tom Brady picking up with Chad Ochocinco, his first touchdown of the season, 33 yards, and the Patriots have a 7-6 lead in what is an offensive slugfest so far. Tom, Brian?
All right, Curt, you know everybody here in Oakland will be keeping an eye on that one. Raiders again back at Denver in the AFC West, and the catch is made by Nate Burleson up to the 25-yard line, tackled by Lito Shepherd, who is starting in place of Chris Johnson at cornerback.
And we'll see Detroit do this a fair amount of times today. That was a smoke route, a throw that was not called. It was supposed to be a run. He saw he liked the off coverage, just raised up. It was strictly him and Burleson that were in on it. We'll see more of that today.
Stafford throws it out of bounds under heavy pressure, and they're looking for an intentional grounding call. A couple of officials are talking about it. Where was he, in the pocket or out of the pocket?
The difference being that outside the pocket, all he has to do is get it past the line of scrimmage. They wait and confer about it. That's what this is about. What did you see? What did I see? Clearly deciding there that he was enough outside the pocket that all he had to do was get past the line of scrimmage with the ball.
Hugh Jackson accepting the explanation, so here's a 3rd and 5. Flag down in the secondary.
Matthew Stafford's pass intended for number 81, Calvin Johnson, a penalty flag on the play.
Before the pass, holding. Number 26, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Of course, Calvin Johnson began the year, his first 8 games this season, he had 47 catches and 11 touchdowns. He has only scored 1 touchdown in the last 5 games.
You can see right here, Stanford route says right from the get-go, you got to play this guy a lot of different ways. He clearly held there. He pushed him to the outside. I'm talking about Calvin Johnson now to create that separation. Stanford route told us, I'm going to press him, I'm going to play off him, I'm going to do a lot of different things when I get one-on-one with Calvin Johnson.
Is it a catch? No. Official immediately says no. Nate Burleson, the intended receiver.
Stanford route coming off the outside coverage there. Kind of surprised Burleson. They thought he had cleared out with the outside receiver. That surprised both Stafford and Burleson. Of course, it hurt Burleson a lot more than it did Stafford.
Burleson's had a nice year. In fact, he has been their leading receiver going back to week 9. But he's also been plagued with drops. That's his 8th. Smith escapes one tackle and then is dropped for a 2-yard loss. Jerome Boyd, the first one there, and then to finish him off, Mike Mitchell.
Watch this edge rusher come off the edge. It looked like it was going to be coverage, and then you saw the safety, Tyvon Branch, come late. Defensive coordinator Chuck Bresnahan of the Oakland Raiders is giving Matthew Stafford a lot of different looks with this Raiders secondary.
Third and 11, and that's a 13-yard reception made by the rookie out of Boise State, Titus Young. Last week had a 57-yard touchdown reception.
Great timing by the rookie Titus Young and Matthew Stafford. That ball needed to be on the way before Titus Young even started his turn. The ultimate trust between a quarterback and a receiver for a big third down conversion.
Those are the numbers last week for Young. He had a 25-yard reception in the third quarter. Quick slant and the catch made by Burleson right at midfield. We're going to spot it, it looks like, at the 49-yard line.
Another one of those smoke routes I talked about, Tom, where again the quarterback, if he likes the one-on-one matchup on the outside, everybody else was running a run play. Everybody else thought it was a run, but he saw he had no underneath coverage because of the reacting to the run. He's going to raise up and take this chump change anytime he can get it.
So the 6-yard pickup on first down, 2nd and 4. Stafford looking for Johnson. He's got it.
And he's into the end zone. A touchdown for Calvin Johnson. Just his 2nd touchdown in the last 6 weeks. This one 51 yards out, and you predicted this before the game ever started, Coach Billick.
Well, one of the ways to get Calvin Johnson off of bracket coverage or double coverage, they're going to short motion him here. Deep drop by Matthew Stafford. Look, he goes right over the top. It looked like he thought he was going to get help from Mike Mitchell. Tyvon Branch turns around and kind of like, hey man, weren't you supposed to be deeper than the deepest? You weren't there. By the way, that's Calvin Johnson in the end zone.
Johnson has just tied Billy Sims for 3rd place on the Lions all-time touchdown list. That's his 47th. And his 13th of this year. Now for the point after to knot it up is good. Stafford has now gone 16 straight games with a touchdown, 3rd longest streak in the league.
This guy, you talk about an accurate throw on the dead run, did not have to break stride. Right into the outreached hands, you can see right there. Tyvon Branch turning around going, whoo, there was supposed to be someone deeper than me. You can see as he comes in here, we're going to give you one more look. Right over the top. He got held up. I'm talking about not Tyvon Branch, but Mike Mitchell, because he saw Titus Young coming across underneath. That grabbed his attention just enough for Calvin Johnson to get in behind him.
That looks like one of our production meetings right when we're set to go. You and Bob Stenner and Artie Kempner and company jumping around excited about an NFL game.
If you say so. But you know what I like? They had the presence of mind to do that on the sideline, not a penalty. I mean, I'm serious now. You think I'm kidding? The old Detroit Lions a couple weeks ago might have done that in the end zone and cost them a positioning here on the kickoff. I like the fact that they waited to do it at the sideline.
7-7 game. McCann waits on the Hansen kickoff. And McCann right up the goal line. What a nice tackle made at the 11-yard line by Maurice Stovall. Well, here's we're approaching the holidays. We certainly would like to welcome the men and women away from their families in uniform, serving around the world, watching our game in 175 countries on the American Forces Network. We cannot thank you for serving our country, for protecting us all, and God bless you, and we thank you for your service. And we're sorry you're away from your family over this Christmas season, this holiday season. Stay well.
This looks like it might be a run check.
Yes, it is. Michael Bush for a yard. We check in downstairs along the sideline for the first time. Hi, Laura Oakman.
Hi, Tom. You talked earlier about Ndamukong Suh's return. He did not address his team this week formally, but wide receiver Nate Burleson told me he didn't have to. He said it's like a guy coming back from injury. He doesn't stand up and announce, hey, guys, I'm healthy. He said the most important thing, he has a clear understanding of what he did, how big the spotlight on him is right now, and how stupid one individual mistake can be and how much it can affect our entire team, our entire sole focus, which is solely making the playoffs. He gets that, is what he said.
Laura, thank you. Catch made by Murphy up to the 21-yard line. He had the touchdown run, you may remember, on their last drive. I think it's safe to say, Brian, and you and I have had a chance to spend a little bit of time around Ndamukong Suh, not this week. He said what he wanted to say earlier in the week, but he is a very, very likable young man. I mean, you get into all the Freudian theories about what happens when he gets on the field, but just as far as a young man is concerned, very enjoyable to be around.
And what he has to learn is to get that maturity of understanding how that passion, as strong as it may be, and you love to see it in a player, has to be kept within certain bounds.
Well, they run it right at the interior of that Detroit defensive front, and Bush for the first down up to the 24-yard line.
You can see the difference, obviously. The presence of Ndamukong Suh, and trust me now, he's as big an inside presence as any player in the league.
That's a straight drop by Schilling.
Most defensive coaches will tell you.
Hang on, I beg your pardon.
Oh, they
Forgive
gave
me.
him the catch.
Wow, it looked like he dropped it, and then he caught it around his knee.
It looked like he was bobbling, but he must have got it in control as he just before he got out of bounds.
A nice recovery there by Schilling. Second down and a yard. That time, not a catch. With an eye on Denarius Moore.
Carson Palmer is doing a great deal at the line of scrimmage here. Now remember, Carson Palmer, when he was at his best with the Cincinnati Bengals, they were a lot of no huddle, and he did it brilliantly. Believe me, I saw way too much of it in my time in Baltimore. He is new to this system. More importantly, he's new to these players. It's not a limitation on Carson Palmer. It's the ability of the players around him to catch these calls, and right now they've been orchestrating it pretty well.
Boy, they had it second down and a yard. They miss on the pass attempt. They run it on 3rd and 1, and a loss, forcing the punt.
And they ran it off a little bit of a draw action. I question that, not just straight downhill, getting to these edges. We've seen them get to the edge of this Detroit defense with those wide nines. To run a 3rd and 1 on a delayed action is a little questionable.
Leckler, one of the game's very best punters, blasts this one, sending Logan back to the 12-yard line, and good coverage by the Raiders. Okay, the Raiders may have their ups and downs on offense and defense, but when it comes to their punter and their field goal kicker, there is no team better than the Oakland Raiders.
And they've been doing this for a long, long time, and they expended the what I'm looking for is they expended the resources to get those guys because they drafted them. I remembered they got criticized when they drafted these guys.
Same draft.
Janikowski was a first-round pick. People are going, what are you doing drafting a kicker with a first-round pick? But obviously he's been very productive for them.
They got them both in that 2000 draft. Janikowski in the first round and Leffler in the 5th round out of Texas A&M. First down. And the catch made on the far side of the field by Nate Burleson. He's very close to a first down. 12 seconds remain in this opening quarter.
We talked about the need for the Detroit Lions to get a running game cranked up.
Apparently he did not get out of bounds, so the clock ticks off, ending the first quarter. 7-7. Fox NFL Sunday will continue in a moment. Set to begin the second quarter here in Oakland. 7-7 game, second down and a yard for Detroit. On its own 27-yard line. Escaped one tackle. That was Seymour who tied it up. Smith loses, depending on the spot, it looks like 2. So third down coming up.
You can see here right in the middle of the deal. Look at the way he just jams the center right back into the play. This gives you no chance to get a running game started because when the running back looks up to see whatever key he's supposed to read and all he sees is the back of the numbers at his center, it's tough to get started.
See the numbers from the opening quarter. Big, long touchdown pass, better than 50 yards to Calvin Johnson. And now on a third down, Stafford finds Johnson again. Still on his feet, crossing midfield. Johnson has not gone over 100 receiving yards in a game in the last 5 weeks. That may be about to change.
This is one way to break down coverage. He works just a little jerk route in there, pulling the coverage up underneath. You want to break double coverage or bracket coverage? Cross a big receiver like Calvin Johnson across the body of the formation. Very tough to double a guy that way.
Already 75 receiving yards for Johnson on just 2 receptions. Timeout.
Timeout Detroit. They're first.
Today's game is sponsored by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By Verizon, your holiday tablet destination. And by the Ford F-150, the only truck available with EcoBoost.
Check London Square. Always a good stop along the waterfront here in Oakland. First down at 10 Lions. At midfield in a 7-7 game. Stafford hit as he threw, and it's incomplete, 2nd and 10.
I want you to see the throwing action of Matthew Stafford. This is on the touchdown to Calvin Johnson. Again, classic overarm, beautifully thrown ball. But on that last third down, I want you to watch what he does here. He sees the only alley he has to get the thing completed is to flick this thing sidearm. I love what I'm seeing in Matthew Stafford, the accuracy that he can have. Remember, he was having difficulty with the index finger on his throwing hand. It is completely healed, and he's delivering the ball any way he has to be successful.
Stafford dropped all the way back to the 39-yard line by the middle linebacker, Rolando McClain.
We said that Oakland was giving you a lot of looks here. He's looking for Calvin Johnson. He got the one-on-one, but he did not have the time. McClain blowing in off that gap. He had the one-on-one he wanted, just turning on the inside. We always say it, inside pressure on a quarterback is the most disruptive thing you can do.
McClain had 2 sacks, one for his first career safety at Green Bay last week. Third down and a mile, call it 18. The Lions will punt. Let's check in on some early headlines and headliners from action early on today around the NFL. Boy, New Orleans looks mighty strong. 5 touchdowns for Breeze. We talked about Kansas City, the shocker, beating Green Bay. The Lions lose for the first time this year. For the Packers will play these Lions. Final weekend of the year at Lambeau Field. That time that end over end punting style of Graham lands the right way and trickles all the way down inside the 10. And a nice job to handle the snap. 52-yard punt. A conversation ongoing during this entire timeout between the punter Graham and Mulbach, the snapper. First down carry to Michael Bush. What do you think's happening here, Coach Bill?
Well, Ben Graham's clearly frustrated here. I don't think he's ready for the snap. When you're watching them on the sideline, first it is a low, bad snap, but I think he's complaining with the up back in the center. Look, we got to do this in sequence. You call the protection, then you call for the snap count. He's saying, look, there is no snap count. So whatever the process is, they ain't getting it right.
2nd and 7, a penalty flag on the near side of the field. A long ways away from where Palmer was playing pitch and catch with Hayward Bay.
Illegal formation offense. Number 17 covered up the online receiver. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat second down.
That's Denarius Moore we talked about just coming back into the lineup, and it's these types of penalties. You know, we're talking a great deal about penalties for both teams, and obviously the knucklehead penalties there's no room for. But the ones that drive coaches nuts are the pre-snap penalties. And that's not subjective now. If the guy's lined up wrong, he's lined up wrong. If you jump off sides, you jump off sides. That's not being picked on. That's not the officials are watching for something. It's illegal, and now you backed yourself up into the shadow of your own goalpost.
Hayward Bay still on his feet up to the 38-yard line. That's a first down. A gain of 35 on the completion to their leading receiver.
And this is just a deep angled slant route. Hayward Bay's got great speed. You can see why Eric Wright was off the ball a little bit. You have to rely on underneath coverage. It wasn't there. Hayward Bay, the 7th pick of the draft coming out, has not yet lived up to the 7th overall pick status. But I tell you what, he is getting better and has turned into a solid receiver.
Boy, what a collision there. Tulloch coming up to take on Michael Bush, and that'll be a gain of a yard.
Tulloch doing a great job. Look at that form tackling, taking on just perfect. He knows he doesn't want to take him on high. That's exactly what you want out of a linebacker that can read and recognize, pull the trigger, and then fill the hole.
Vic Fairley into the game for Detroit. Had that troublesome foot injury going all the way back to training camp. And Palmer onto wide open Denarius Moore, and he is spun down by Houston for another first down at the 45-yard line. Carson Palmer looks sharp here today. Missed that would-be touchdown pass to a wide open receiver in the end zone on a 4th and 1 on their first possession, but ever since pretty much on target.
He looked sharp on Friday when we saw them practice. And keep in mind now, these receivers have been in and out of the lineup as we've talked about. It takes a while, and you only develop that relationship during games. So every game they are together, the more and more they're going to get in sync.
Good strong running. Rolling ahead of the 42 by Bush. Let's check in from Los Angeles again with Kurt Menefee.
Well, they're just starting the second quarter, but so far the Broncos running all over New England. Lance Ball, 32 yards on the touchdown, but in the first quarter, even though they've got a 13-7 lead right now, in the second, Denver ran for 167 yards in the quarter against New England, most ever against Belichick. Tom?
And over 250 yards of offense. There's a catch and breaking a tackle, and all the way to the into the black hole.
That's twice we've seen these slants come open, and the corners expect underneath help. It's almost impossible to stop a slant route when you're playing off outside zone coverage. He's expecting help by the drop of the linebacker or safety, and then you see the acceleration of Heyward-Bey.
Palmer is hit on 10 of 12, 158 yards, and now a touchdown. And Janikowski makes it a 7-point lead with 9:07 to play here in the opening half. This game's so critically important to both the Lions and the Raiders, and Oakland jumps out to a 7-point lead.
Today's game is sponsored by Pizza Hut's new Big Dinner Box. Get all your favorites in one epic box.
Coach Billick, you brought up earlier, this Raider offense, they'll put a big play on you in a hurry. They lead the AFC, second in the NFL, with now 69 plays of 20 or more yards. That one for a touchdown to Heyward-Bey.
And you can see right here, here's what the problem was. You're going to see Amari Spivey, you're going to see here, they're trying to communicate. That motion confused them. You're up, no, I'm up, no, I'll go back. And this is what left the cornerback vulnerable, because there was not the underneath coverage that they were expecting that left them vulnerable twice now for big plays by Heyward-Bey.
The Lions down 7, 9:07 to play here in the second quarter. They give it to Titus Young, and he is run out of bounds by Giordano. Well, they went into the past to save our future. Tomorrow, the epic 2-hour season finale of Terra Nova. The fate of all mankind comes down to one final battle. See how it all ends. Don't miss a 2-hour Terra Nova. The finale tomorrow, 8 Eastern, 7 Central on Fox. Smith up to the 27-yard line. Will bring up 3rd down and 3. And even though it's only a 7-point game, you know, they hit the one big play in this game to Calvin Johnson. Outside of that, it's really not been a whole lot for Detroit on offense so far.
No, and it's putting a lot on Matthew Stafford, because as we said earlier, there's only they're second to last in the league in rushing attempts. They don't have the balance they'd like to have. It really does fall in the arm of Matthew Stafford, and they've not been able to sustain anything thus far to continue drives down the field, other than, as you said, the one big play.
Burleson, good strong running to get to a first down after the catch up to the 32-yard line.
Last week when we had these guys against the Minnesota Vikings, here you can see Calvin Johnson here. They do double Calvin Johnson. I said he's going to see a lot of one-on-one, but they're going to try to keep someone over the top of him as well. Nate Burleson here trying to hold on to the ball after getting the first down. But Detroit last week against Minnesota.
Timeout Oakland. They're second.
We'll talk about it when we come back, but right now for the Detroit Lions, it's all about trying to find the continuity we talked about.
Well, this January, FX and Fox are home for exciting live UFC action with more than 10 epic fights on 3 incredible nights. A month of outstanding live UFC action begins Saturday, January 14th on FX. First and 10 Lions from their own 31, trailing 14-7. Read beautifully by Lito Shepherd. Shepherd's been around a long time. His 10th year out of Florida. 7 of the 10 years in Philadelphia.
And we said these outside quick throws are basically the running game of the Detroit Lions. And when you come up and make an open field tackle like that by Shepherd, That's the same as stoning a running back at the line of scrimmage. Put you now in a 2nd and long.
Through the hands of the intended target, Pettigrew, and we go to Los Angeles for a game break.
Hey, watch out for the Philadelphia Eagles. Michael Vick with the 11-yard rushing touchdown. That's his first of the year. It puts them up 21-0 on the Jets. And Tom, Brian, and Laura, if there ends up a 3-way tie in the East, which it could, the Eagles would win the division.
First for the Jets. Right now, they're the leaders for that final spot in the AFC playoffs. That could change dramatically. After Cincinnati won earlier today, blitz coming. They get it away. But taken down is Smith. A gain of 3, and again the Lions will punt. I mean, really, this offense has been almost exclusively the one big pass to Calvin Johnson, resulting in their only score.
Last week against the Minnesota Vikings, and here you're just going to see again a great open field tackle. Here comes the pressure. You just a perfect call. It's what you want if you can get man on man versus pressure to get a quick screen out like that. But it's great open field tackle that's forcing them to punt.
And again, it was the open field tackle by Lito Shepherd. Punt down to the 27-yard line. 5:54 to go until the half. So Palmer and company coming out. What's coming up? Kurt Menefee on the Visa halftime report.
All right, coming up on the Visa halftime report, we'll have all the highlights and scores from a crazy Week 15. A lot of upsets, including the Packers going down for the first time and the Colts getting their first win. These guys will be done eating. We'll have highlights for you on the Visa halftime.
I'm glad they're getting something to eat. Look good.
Moore slips a tackle, but unable to gain much yardage, maybe a half a yard.
You know, we were saying before, Tom, about last week when we had the Detroit Lions versus the Minnesota Vikings. Matthew Stafford made the point that, look, we got to be efficient because they're not going to give us big play opportunities. He was 20 of 29, very efficient in that win. He's had plenty of opportunities here to make big plays. They're just not taking advantage of it. Now the Oakland Raiders, they're going to try to see if they can take advantage of the coverage they're seeing compared to what they put up against the Detroit Lions.
Bush spun out of a tackle by Justin Durant and picks up a couple of yards. So a 3rd down coming up for the Raiders as we close in on 5 minutes to go until halftime. Very good numbers for the longtime Bengal Carson Palmer. Came over in the trade on October the 18th. Jason Campbell had played well for this team. Had him out to a 4-2 record. Injured his shoulder against Kansas City. They brought Palmer in here. He lost his first start, then won 3 in a row, but they've had back-to-back embarrassing losses on the road. Talk about an open field tackle. It doesn't get much better than that. Another number 21, Eric Wright.
That's huge when you can get your secondary to come up by way of Eric Wright here on the fullback, Reese, and be able to square up. This is a big man versus little man, and as Deion Sanders would say, this is a business decision. I'm going to take this guy on low. But that's a great open field tackle. We've seen good open field tackles from both secondaries so far in the game.
Leclerc puts a foot on it. Returnable here for Logan. And a good return it is up to the 32-yard line. Of course, anytime you come here to Oakland, perhaps the first name you think of left us this past October the 8th. Longtime coach and then owner, Al Davis, passing away at the age of 82. Their head coach, general manager, of course, the commissioner of the AFL. A Pro Football Hall of Famer in 1992, and on October the 16th at halftime, the Raiders lit An eternal flame in tribute to Al Davison, a man who lit that flame. Another Hall of Famer, a longtime colleague at Fox, John Madden. John looks good. I know everybody misses him. I know all the fans miss him doing games.
Yet he's watching when you sit and visit with him. He's watching all the games. I guess at home he has just like multiple screens. It's like a whole. It's like the trucks here that we work with every week. He's got that at home. He's watching all the games all the time. Can't get enough football for him. He's enjoying life right now.
Looks good. Good for him. Spending more time with his family these days. Wide open down the middle of the field is Calvin Johnson, and that's a first down up to the 48-yard line.
Now he's got coverage over the top, but the underneath coverage get pulled up with the underneath routes. So they're looking for these dig routes, these multi-leveled routes that allows a Calvin Johnson to get open in behind the linebacker and safety level.
Offside, number 93 defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Tommy Kelly, a durable, productive defensive tackle, was a Pro Bowl alternate a season ago as Kelly.
Brandon Pettigrew ought to show up pretty soon here. Calvin Johnson's been able to have a couple shots here. They'll continue to try to roll coverage to him. Those underneath routes, there's Pettigrew right here. He's going to start to show up for Matthew Stafford.
Flick the end around. And then dropped by Smith. And boy, Stafford took a lick. When you have that much time in the hands of the quarterback, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, and that you hope that for the play, but at the end of the day, that does leave him vulnerable. You hope that's nothing serious now. Matthew Stafford able to string off some starts here this year, having only 13 starts in his first couple years. He was excited about how healthy he's been, notwithstanding the injured figure we talked about, particularly coming into this last stretch of games.
Well, Sean Hill, the backup, begins to throw over on the Detroit sideline. Smith lost his footing, and you wonder if some of that might have to do with some of the weakness in that ankle.
Kevin Smith, the ball carrier, covered up by number 4.
Well, we talked about Stafford. He's missed 19 games over his first 2 years. And you take a look at his first 2 seasons, you said it, Brian, the 13 games total over 2 years. But then this year, he's playing a 3rd game in December for the first time in his 3 seasons. They're going to let the clock run down to the 2-minute warning before we have a 3rd and 4. Raiders lead by a touchdown. Mr. and Mrs. Claus enjoying the action today here from Oakland, California. A 3rd down and 4. Good protection this time. And again, it is Johnson, and that's good enough for a first down to the 39-yard line. Detroit with 2 timeouts remaining.
Well, the pressure coming on Stafford here, you can see on the inside Seymour. Now they're getting it from the secondary and the linebacker level as well. So, yeah, you're getting a lot of one-on-one coverage on the outside. Here he gets knocked down, a little shaken up on the last play. But the downside to all that one-on-one, that means there's a lot of pressure coming at me. Once again, Calvin Johnson working across the body of the formation to get a catch.
Good protection again. And it's Burleson still on his feet inside the 5 in the end zone for Nate Burleson. 39-yard touchdown throw from Stafford to Burleson on the heels of a 51-yard strike to Calvin Johnson.
He just comes in behind the body of the defense, just throttles down subtly in behind Branch. Matthew Stafford allowing him to catch this thing on the run, then he just splits the secondary going into it. Beautiful drive by Matthew Stafford, utilizing all of his receivers to drive the length of the field for the score.
So now to tie it up, the point after by Hansen in his 20th season with the Lions. $14 all.
This is a tough throw with Burleson just throttling down into that zone area. Kind of a dangerous throw for a quarterback. But now you can see that speed and athleticism on Burleson. Just all of a sudden, that little bit of separation. Giordano cannot catch up with him. Had the angle on him. Couldn't keep him from getting into the end zone.
Nate Burleson, there were some that felt like after he left Minnesota and went to Seattle that perhaps he was on the downside of his career when he joined Detroit a season ago. He is putting together a very impressive year.
Well, I think the key was he went to Seattle and they wanted him to be the #1 guy. And I don't think he is that. And when I say that, sometimes people think I'm criticizing. I'm not. I mean, you all have to have specific roles. Calvin Johnson's the #1 guy. Nate Burleson with his speed and athleticism is a perfect complement. And you're talking about a guy that could catch 60, 70 balls a year as a #2. There's nothing wrong with being a complement to Calvin Johnson.
Well, you hear it all the time in baseball. There's some guys that may be a #2 starter and they're not ready to be the #1 guy. No different when it comes to wide receivers, perhaps even running backs in football. We talk about it frequently. So now McCann, deep in his own end zone, elects to bring it out. And he's up to the 22-yard line. 1:09 to play until the half, and the Raiders have one timeout remaining. And we remind you, coming up on the Visa Halftime Report, the guys in Los Angeles will tell you about the Packers' bid for a perfect season. No more comes to an end today in Kansas City. And the Colts finally able to get their first win of the year. That and everything going on in the playoff picture. Chicago hammered today at Soldier Field by surging Seattle.
You're going to have to get a slide rule to figure out what win means what to what loss and what that playoff picture is.
Dump it off to Bush, and he has a first down up to the 33, and they're in hurry-up mode.
And this is where Carson Palmer gets tested the most because he is with the new group of receivers, orchestrating a no-huddle offense late in the first half.
Wisely, Houshmandzadeh able to get out of bounds. Was Houshmandzadeh and Palmer so good together all those years in Cincinnati. Won a couple of division titles together.
And that's why they brought Houshmandzadeh in, because as I just said, Carson Palmer's got a new group of receivers to get used to. He needed that one guy he had a comfort zone with, someone he could lean on in a critical situation because he is so new to this receiving corps.
Screen to Bush, blocking in front of him. And he's up to midfield. You saw Janikowski. Let's not forget, he is hit from 63 yards this season. That's right, 63 yards, which ties an NFL record long.
Now they've got one timeout left, do the Raiders here, and obviously with the range of Janikowski, what you're talking about, they'd like to hold on to that timeout. They're at 26 seconds right now. So they're going to get a playoff. They'd like not to have to use that timeout to call the next play. They'd like to keep that in their back pocket to bring him on the field if need be.
Houshmandzadeh to the 35-yard line, and they're going to try and spike it rather than burn that last timeout and see if they can't get one more play.
Absolutely. This is the right thing to do. Dirt it. Like I said, keep that one timeout in your back pocket. That allows you now, in whatever call they come up with, he does not have to take an end zone shot. He can drop the ball underneath, get a little bit more yardage if he chooses to, and still have that timeout.
Well, right now where the ball is, you'd be looking at a 52-yard field goal. That's certainly well within Janikowski range, but if you can buy an extra 5, 7, 10 yards, why not?
And you could even make a case here to maybe slip a trap or a draw in here real quick, just to buy those extra yards rather than an end zone shot. You do have enough time given the timeout.
Well, the Lions call the timeout.
30-second timeout.
Well, to give Palmer a chance to come over to the sideline and talk about what they want to do here.
I think the Lions got caught. They had been moved the ball down the field in a 3-wide receiver configuration by the Raiders. They had slipped 2 tight ends in on that last play. I'm not sure they had the right personnel grouping in there to match up with what they thought the Raiders were going to do out of the 2 tight end alignment.
Janikowski is hit on 55% of his field goal attempts from beyond 50 yards. That is an astonishing number.
Now they've shifted back. Interesting. Oakland's gone back to the 3 wides configuration. Different one that they just had in the game.
He said they might run it to get a few extra yards, and that's precisely what they'll do, and they'll call the timeout.
And that's a good call. You could have taken a look for the shot down the field, dropped it off. 10 seconds might have gotten a little dicey depending upon how long the ball carrier would have had, but a quick trap or draw like that buys you an extra few yards. That timeout in your back pocket allows you to do all those things.
Well, they're going to spot it at the 36-yard line out of the hold of Shane Lecter. John Kondo, the snapper. It'll be a 46-yard field goal try by Janikowski, who inside of 50 this year has missed just 1 time. Steve missed twice total this season, but only once of the 2 inside of 50 yards.
36-yard line.
So a bid for the lead at halftime. Good snap. The hold is there, and this guy is automatic. Wow. And that's the way the half will end. So the Raiders got the ball with enough time for Palmer to get him down the field. We now go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for the Visa halftime report, which starts now. Calvin Johnson, 98 first half receiving yards. He's not been over 100 in the last 6 games. We invite you to follow your favorite team all season long. Just go to iTunes.com/NFL. Remember, the Raiders won the toss, elected to defer, so they'll get it to begin the second half. It's been a very sharp game for Carson Palmer.
It has. We mentioned that on Friday. He looked very sharp in practice. The question for me all along has been Carson Palmer. Is he healthy? Coming back from the injuries he's had the last couple of years, he's throwing the ball very, very well, and he's getting more and more in tune with this new receiving group that he's with.
Well, you notice it is not Brian McCann. It is Tyvon Branch who awaits a kick from Hanson. Well, the second half is underway, and Branch thought about it. They just put him back there, and look out! Branch! Penalty flag down, still on his feet. Another flag down, and all the way to the 30. A huge hit, but was it an illegal block? Down around the 8-yard line, and a pair of Lions are hurt on the field. The guy who took the hit at one end, Don Carey.
Return, personal foul, blindside block, number 30 of the return team. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's a hit on Boyd right there on Carey.
Yeah, and that was a clear head shot from behind. Boy, that's a dangerous hit right there.
That wipes out a 76-yard return, and thankfully Don Carey is okay.
Look at this cloud.
So first down, and the throw and the catch is made by Hayward Bay, and that's good enough for a first down up to the 18-yard line.
Last time in this situation, we saw Carson Palmer put them in a no-huddle, not a no-huddle situation, but a check at the line to take advantage of what Detroit was giving him. We may see more of that this drive.
Been a nice day so far for Darius Hayward Bay. And that'll move the chains again.
Yeah, and this is another one of what we keep calling these smoke routes. When you see off coverage like this may very well have been the run. But Carson Palmer, particularly with the speed that he has available to him in Oakland, he's going to get them the ball out there very quickly for one-on-one. All they have to do is break one tackle. They have the kind of speed they can go the distance.
And it's a Bush. And a good carry up to the 35-yard line. Let's check in with Laura Oakman.
I talked to Jim Schwartz, who said the Raiders came out so aggressively, offensively and defensively. We did not match their intensity. Said we need to be more aggressive, especially on defense, rushing the passer. They'll do it without safety Chris Harris. He is out for the rest of the game with that head injury.
All right, Laura, thank you very much. There's pitch and catch over on this side of the field, right in front of Chris Houston.
We keep seeing the same thing. Carson Palmer says, you keep wanting to play off. Look at this off coverage here. You keep wanting to play that way. I'll take this one-step hitch. I'll take this little quick 10-yard hitch. It's just a deeper hitch. It's just a quick out on the outside. And as long as these corners from Detroit will play off, Carson Palmer is going to continue to do this. What he may look for now is a little stop and go. Get them to jump now on that hitch or that stop route and then go vertical in behind it.
Flag down. No gain on the carry by Bush. But we wait on the penalty.
Offside. Defense, 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
The guy we haven't seen much of so far for Oakland and was a big part of it when Carson Palmer just got here was the tight end Kevin Boss. Good pickup for the Oakland Raiders. Again, a veteran quarterback will lean heavily on a tight end. Have not seen much of Boss yet. May be time for him to show up here in the near future.
Palmer may have underthrown his receiver, and it's incomplete. He had an open Louis Murphy right at the 25-yard line.
Well, Alfonso Smith came out late underneath that deep outside throw. That's what caused Palmer to hold up just a little bit. Had he been able to get out of his hands just a little bit quicker, he likely would have converted on it.
Second down and 5, and they'll put it in the hands of Bush. That did not fool the Lions on defense. It's third down. We talked about it last week. The Lions in the second half scored the second most points in the NFL. The Raiders, meanwhile, have allowed the most points in the second half.
And a lot of that is due to the comebacks that the Detroit Lions had, particularly in the first half of the season. And it bodes well, obviously, particularly as you're making a playoff run, to be able to count on that in the second half of the game. This looks like that same kind of game.
Boy, did he thread the needle there to Chaz Schillens, and then a flag comes in. What a throw there by Palmer.
Pass interference, number 81 offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat third down.
Well, maybe that's why Schillens got open.
Yeah, at the top of the route, it's just a little curl route at the top. Got just the subtlest of shoves at the top. You can see him right here. He's going to get the top. Just kind of picks, excuse me. Again, he didn't, if he was actually dipping the shoulder to come underneath, he became the primary. Typically, you see that when they go to the outside guy. I think he really was trying to dip past the underneath coverage, and they called it a pick. That's very rare that the guy that gets called for the pick also is the guy that catches the ball.
And now it becomes 3rd down and 13 on this opening possession of the second half, with the Raiders leading 17-14. Usmanzada. A step behind Bush. And he's tackled at the 47-yard line. That'll be short of a first down, so the Raiders punt.
We had a couple guys in the same spot. Carson Palmer's looking at Hugh Jackson and wondering, do we really need 2 guys in the same place?
Logan, the fair catch at the 11.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By the 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee. By the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, in theaters December 21st, rated R. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
First possession of the second half for Detroit, trailing 17-14 on the road in Oakland. What a blow delivered by Mike Mitchell out of Ohio University. His alma mater getting their first ever bowl win yesterday, and maybe this is part of the celebration.
Yeah, this this crossed his eyes a little bit now. He's coming out because that was a heck of a hit. He had to come out and take a blow on that one. Kind of shake the cobwebs out.
Best run of the day by Smith. They throw up top, and that had no chance from the beginning. Well, you go back to the start of this one. Louis Murphy, the 12-yard run, 51-yard strike to Calvin Johnson to tie it. Hayward Bay from 43 yards. Oakland up by 7. Another big play. Burleson, 39 yards out to tie it. And then Janikowski gave him a lead, hitting a field goal on the final play of the first half. Blitz coming. And it looks like Titus Young has enough for a first down. Needed to get to the 22.
He almost ran back out of that first down. Right here you can see, because of the crowd noise, more and more teams are doing this. They're letting the guards recognize when the quarterback's ready and he touches the center. Because what happens is the center has to raise up, make his calls, put his head back between his legs to see the quarterback lift the leg, then come up. Defenses were moving around, changing their configuration. So more and more teams now let the center make the calls. The guard will indicate when the ball's to be snapped.
Plenty enough for the first down. You know, much like the game last week, you can't talk about how important these final 3 games are for these two teams. Detroit going into play today, 8 wins against 5 losses. Certainly pleased the Giants lost today to go to 7-7. Bears losing to go to 7-7. But you can't forget all of a sudden about Seattle and Arizona. They're still much in the hunt for a playoff spot in the NFC. And for the Raiders, They know the Broncos are losing. The Jets are losing. Best carry of the afternoon for Smith. That's a gain of close to 14 yards.
And this was one of those runs where you can see everybody's up on the line of scrimmage. They're showing pressure. That's all well and good, but if you create just a little bit of an alley, all of a sudden now you're out the gate because you've stepped up for that pressure and one guy takes the wrong gap and you get gashed.
Was this against the Lions?
Neutral zone infraction. Number 92 defense came in the neutral zone, causing an offensive man to false start. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's Richard Seymour, 1st and 5. You take a look at the NFC playoff picture. We know Green Bay lost for the first time. New Orleans 11-3. The 49ers play at home to the Steelers tomorrow night. And Dallas a big win last night. Atlanta at 9-5. And then you see in the hunt, Seattle 7-7. Likewise for Chicago, the Giants, Arizona trying to get to 7-7, trailing by 3 against Cleveland. So a lot of breathing room for the Lions if they can get this win. Well, there's a flag that comes in, and Stanford Routt, quite frankly, can't believe it. Boy, that looked like great coverage.
Holding. Number 26, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So the timing was fine, but we're going to see on the far outside here, gets a hold of the jersey right there. The contact is fine at the 5-yard level, but now it looked like he got a hold a little bit of the jersey as he's coming out, and that's what he got called for.
Fourth defensive hold this season against Routt. That's tied for the most in the league.
Watch it.
Stafford steps up.
And misses down the middle of the field to Titus Young. We showed you what the Lions, what's at stake for them. What about the Raiders? We told you Denver right now is trailing. Houston lost earlier today, but already a division champion. New England trying to clinch the AFC East. Cincinnati wins today. Tennessee loses. The Jets are losing against Philadelphia.
And what makes that significant, most people have assumed that the winner of the AFC West would be the only one to make the playoffs. But the way this is shaping up, there are still some wild card possibilities for either Denver or Oakland.
Yep. Should be noted, you know, when you talk about the Raiders, and there are so many things that can happen over these last 3 weeks. But their record inside the division could come into play. 2 divisional games left for Hugh Jackson's team. And we'll talk about all the possibilities later in the game for Detroit. On a 3rd and 4, Stafford hit as he throws. Boy, is he whacked. Back there off the corner by Lito Shepherd.
And it's a good thing that Lito Shepherd got here. He comes in from the outside. Had he not caused this little bit of a high throw by Stafford, he had Calvin Johnson down the middle of the field. He might have gone the distance had Stafford had the right amount of time to size that up better.
Extremely short punt. Now will he get a bounce? Yes, he did. And Houshmandzadeh back. And a flag comes in at the end of that play. Or was he just throwing it down there to spot where the ball went out of bounds?
This is going to be
There's
an
no
illegal
foul for the kicking team player going out of bounds. Timeout.
I was about to say I thought it was an illegal touching, but evidently not. This is the eyes of Kyle Vanden Bosch. He uses that to, it's basically a way to deflect it so that it cuts down on the shine. But I don't know if I'm an offensive tackle. I don't know what its intended purpose was, but it scares the heck out of me.
What a day it has been today for Carson Palmer. And on first down, he finds his old buddy Houshmandzadeh.
Knocked out of bounds at the 17.
That'll be a gain of 9.
Gain of 9, second and 1.
Palmer has hit on 23 out of 28. He has 1 touchdown, has not turned it over. 2 of his 5 incompletions have been spikes at the end of the first half.
And the key thing there is he has not had the turnover.
Looked like Ndamukong Suh jumped too early, which will be enough for an Oakland first down.
Offside. Number 9 in defense. 5-yard penalty. Results in a first down.
And it's a tough transition. You know, we've talked about obviously with his leaving Cincinnati, no offseason, coming into here late. This is a veteran quarterback, a gifted athlete, a Heisman Trophy winner, but it does take a while to get into a rhythm. A rash of turnovers have left them vulnerable. This is a capable quarterback, and you can see why Hugh Jackson, on a team at the time at 4-2, a playoff caliber team, why he so coveted the veteran quarterback.
Well, there's that hitch you thought might come and try to connect on the home run ball to Hayward Bay. But Vanden Bosch was able to get to Palmer and drop him back at the 15.
And that's the tough thing when you got to work on. You can see it here. It takes a little time. He shoulder shrugs it, trying to go for the double move, big vertical, and Vanden Bosch coming home. Right here, they've been hitting this underneath route, just that stutter. Now the corner had no part of it. He's looking over there going, I knew you were going after me. Alfonso said, this is where I knew what was going on.
They lay off to Bush on second down. It should be noted, though, that it was Chris Houston that's been playing off in coverage the entire game, and Smith was in there now to replace Houston.
Yeah, but in either case, the fact that they had hit those underneath routes, both corners were going to be aware of it. I promise you, on the sideline, Gunther Cunningham and his defensive staff were telling those guys, look, I know you're frustrated. They've hit a couple of hitches, but they're going to run that double move. And Alfonso Smith, I think, was saying just that. Hey, my coach told me you were going to do that.
Third down, and it's Bush short of the first down by 3 yards. So now for a second straight possession in this second half, Palmer, very little noise. Leckler short for him, but he gets a bounce into the hands of Logan. Scoops it up and turns it into a positive play up to the 40-yard line. Lions down by 3 with the ball.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Verizon. Call Star NFL to download NFL Mobile only from Verizon.
Heads-up play by Stefan Logan here. This thing's going to hit, and it could roll. He's waving it off. This thing's going to roll a while. He sees he can catch it on the hop, gets an additional 14 yards out of it. Not only those 14 yards, that thing might have rolled for another 10 beyond that.
A good field position after that decision, and flag comes in late, very, very late, and the Raiders are turned around saying, this is going to be against Detroit.
Number 81 offense blocking downfield doing the pass.
That was one of those smoke routes I was talking about where he was just going to raise up. I want you to watch right here. This is a run play, but for whatever reason, Matthew Stafford thought he was going to get that smoke route off, and Calvin Johnson did not see it the same way. He was blocking on a run play. We've seen 2 smoke routes on both teams. That's one time it didn't work.
Jim Schwartz needing his sunglasses. It's been a very cloudy, chilly day, but here in the late afternoon, sunshine for the first time. After the 10-yard penalty, it's 1st and 20. And that's Johnson, who gets 17 of the needed 20. I'd like to remind you can get coverage of every NFL game with NFL Mobile. Call Star NFL right now. And the Lions going into no huddle.
That's a good call. They're getting a lot of different looks from Oakland. Maybe this will calm some of those looks down.
First down carry across midfield to the Oakland 47-yard line by Kevin Smith.
They stay in the no huddle here. Again, we've not seen a lot of Brandon Pettigrew. Obviously, Calvin Johnson's had a couple big plays, as has Burleson. I would expect Pettigrew to show up here pretty soon in the passing game.
Pettigrew with 2 catches for 16 yards. No gain on first down by Smith.
Nice job down here, setting that edge. Don't let him get outside. Secure, 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 and then wrap up if he does indeed come outside. Nice play by Lamar Houston.
Houston in just his second year, a second-round pick, had a very good rookie year. A season to go.
Burleson.
And depending on the spot, it looks like he has enough for a first down. If not, he's just short.
Staying with the no huddle, Matthew Stafford. Quarterbacks love the no huddle. They really do. They love being in charge of, and you know they can go to the plays that they want. They know what the reads are. It simplifies the game plan, and it does calm down defenses.
About a half a yard shy of the first down, so 3rd and 1. They give it to Smith. Did he get enough?
Boy, this is going to be close.
Smith up the middle.
Oh boy, again, the yellow line's unofficial. He launches himself. So often this is effective, but it always scares you as a coach. Look at this. Goodness gracious, based on that right there, I'm not sure he made it, but we'll see where the spot is. Nice job on the backside, pulling back the momentum. The fact that he didn't hit the ground was laying on bodies. I think if he gets the first down, will have made the difference, and he did not.
All right, what are you going to do here, Brian Billick? You're down by 3, ball at the opponent's 38-yard line, 4th down and a foot.
I think you got to punt this. I think Oakland's been good enough. You've stymied them the last drive. Let's kick it, pin them down into the shade of their own goal line, and see if I can get them in a 3 and out. I had a pretty good series with my defense this last go-round. And they're going to go for it.
Yep. For the time being, leaving the offense on the field is Jim Schwartz. We're under 2 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Detroit 6 out of 10 on 4th downs this year. And they brought in Keelan Williams to the backfield.
This is kind of wedge territory, though. You really don't want to turn around and hand this thing back to a deep I-back. You either want to wedge it or hand it off quickly to the fullback.
I don't know if Williams got there or not.
Not much push. Great penetration by the defensive line of the Oakland Raiders. Didn't look like he had much of it there. That ball never crosses. Again, unofficial lines, but they're pretty darn close.
Well, if he launches and goes up over the top, he probably gets there.
Probably.
And he's denied the first down. Lions had the ball, 3rd down and less than 2. Stopped on 3rd, stopped on 4th down and a foot. The Raiders get it with 1:15 to play until the end of the 3rd quarter. They dump it off to the tight end, Boss. And he's across midfield, his first catch today to the 47-yard line and a first down.
That's about the 4th or 5th screen we've seen. We've seen it to the running back. We've seen the quick screen to the outside receivers. We've seen it to the fullback. Now we're seeing one to the tight end. The Raiders trying to do everything they can to slow down that outside pass rush by Vanden Bosch and Averill of the Detroit Lions.
Reverse to Murphy. He scored on a 12-yard run in the first quarter. Saw Palmer deliver a block on the touchdown carry by Murphy, and not afraid to block again here.
No, much more disciplined on the backside here. Averill comes down, but then redirects himself. DeAndre Levy recognizes what's going on, able to keep a path to minimize the damage. Again, one of the residual effects of this beyond the play is that it does open the inside running lanes, with them now being very conscious of the reverse.
Blitz coming. Palmer gets it away. Breaking tackles and losing the football is Hayward Bay. And the Lions appear to have recovered inside the 10-yard line. What a huge turnover there after an apparent first down reception and then some by Hayward Bay.
Boy, that's regrettable, because this is really a great catch. Ball gets stripped at the end. Great throw by Carson Palmer. Detroit dodging a big bullet here, down by 3. The Oakland Raiders would have been inside the 10-yard line had he been able to hold on to that.
Boy, Alphonso Smith, he got a couple of interceptions, returned one for a touchdown last week. You may remember Smith had 12 starts, led the team in interceptions a season ago, but broke his foot during the lockout. Missed all of training camp. They finally have him on the field. And he's made another big play. Look at the Raiders. 19 turnovers in their 6 losses. Only 7 in their 7 wins. Final play of the third quarter. Neither team dents a scoreboard in the third. Fox NFL Sunday continues after a break from your local Fox station. And the Lions on a 2nd down and 7. Give it to Logan out of the backfield, slips one tackle. And he's 3 yards short of a first down. This is an enormous third down coming up. All of this on the heels of Detroit's last drive. 3rd and less than a yard, stop. 4th and a foot, stop. Oakland got the ball. And on the blitz pickup, Hayward Bay breaking tackles, had it stripped from behind. And the Lions took it inside their own 10-yard line. But now 3rd down, we'll call it 2. First time we've called the name of Tony Scheffler, the Chelsea, Michigan native, his first catch of the afternoon, and it's a big one for a first down.
When they picked Scheffler up and having the 2 tight ends of Pettigrew and Scheffler, I thought we'd see more from Scheffler. He's been big in the red zone. He's got 5 touchdowns, but because they've gone to so much 3 wides, because they're not running the ball as well, he's had less playing time, but he has affected their game.
Smith looking for running room. Boyd steps up in the hole. Well, last week, after a first half where the Lions scored 31 points, taking advantage of all the Minnesota turnovers, Lions scored only 3 points to hang on in the second half. They have not scored in the second half so far today. That's Young, and that did not fool the Raiders. And before this 3rd down, let's go down to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
And the Eagles are pouring on the Jets right now. Michael Vick picking up with Brent Selleck. Selleck's longest career reception, 73 yards, down to about the 1-inch line. And Sean McCoy took it in after that. Philadelphia up 35-13 midway through the 3rd quarter. Tom and Brian.
Of course, for Raider fans, they love that score. A win today and a Jet loss, and the Raiders would have an identical record. Third down. And should have been intercepted. It's incomplete. That looked like it went right through the hands of Matt Giordano. So the Lions will punt again.
I'm not sure Matthew Stafford saw the underneath rotation with the secondary. They did dodge a bullet there.
Here's a punt. Houshmandzadeh again dropping back. And Fields at the 33-yard line. And that's where he's dropped. Good coverage. That time by Stovall. 12-13 to go. Palmer and the Raiders lead by a field goal.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Kay Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. By Visa. More fans go with Visa. And by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
There are 13 guys on the field here. And what happens are they try to get it sorted out. One runs off, but he realized he still had the extra guy on the field. They had to call the timeout, or it would have given the Raiders a first down.
Look at Janikowski. This guy is something, boy. I mean, he barely takes a swing from 51 out. 6-point Raiders lead. Sebastian Janikowski makes it 6 of 7 from 50 and beyond.
Look at the strength. This guy has huge lower body and strength of leg. But as you said, Tom, he has such a smooth stroking action. That's a lethal combination.
A line drive kick that'll take a bounce, and Logan Fields at the 2-yard line. And he's running the wrong way. Richard Gordon, backup tight end, there to slow him down. This all of a sudden becomes one of the biggest drives of the year.
Yeah, kind of loses his footing here, kind of goes down.
Not so smooth there.
Well, like I said, he's got a lot of bulk there once it gets started in a certain direction. Now, Matthew Stafford here, I'm not sure you can count on a 2-possession game here that would even, obviously, 2 field goals to tie it up. This is a possession. He's got to be thinking touchdown on a single possession the whole way.
Out of the hands of Burleson, let's go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Here's the first. New England's Danny Woodhead with his first touchdown of the season. A 10-yard run puts the Patriots on top of the Broncos. 34-16 as they're about to start the fourth quarter. We would say it's over, but it is Denver, and you know who.
Well, you see what's at stake. Denver taking a beating. Oakland trying to tie him up atop the AFC West going into the final 2 weeks of the regular season. Stafford had an open receiver and missed him. Let's go downstairs to downstairs to Laura Oakman.
Tom, you just said what a big drive this is for the Lions. They're saying the same thing. Offensive coaches going up and down the sideline before the offense come out saying, the time is now. Let's prove that we belong.
Stafford has had a dreadful second half. To make a play. He's hit on 2 of 11. Fumbled, recovered by Aaron Curry, and it's a touchdown for the Raiders. There is a penalty flag down on the field at the 15-yard line. It was stripped away. It looked like Tommy Kelly, number 93. Yep. and then picked up by Curry.
The touchdown is good after the touchdown. Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 51 of the defense. That will be enforced 15 yards on the kickoff.
You're going to see from the inside. Here comes Kelly. Inside push, goes past Stafford, gets a hold of the arm, and just strips it as it's going down. Stafford tried to pull it into his body, but just wasn't strong enough against the 6'6", 300-pound Tommy Kelly.
So now Janikowski to make it a 13-point lead.
Today's game is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
We're excited here in Oakland, and why not? The Raiders have taken a 27-14 lead on a day where it's starting to look like, barring a miracle in Denver, the Raiders are going to move into a first-place tie. You see the numbers on Stafford hitting on just 5 of 11 here in the second half. And that fumble, which is converted into a touchdown. Logan run out of bounds at the 29. Remember, the NFL action next week is on Saturday, Christmas Eve. We'll have a Fox NFL special Christmas doubleheader. Giants and the Jets from the Meadowlands in America's Game of the Week, Philadelphia and Dallas. It all starts at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Looked like some bodies got tangled up, and flags do indeed come down.
Calvin Johnson, the intended receiver.
You can see Johnson on the outside. And here's part of the problem when you try to run and
That's
keep
interference.
up.
Number 26 defense.
This
First
is Stanford
down, spot of
route.
the foul.
And Stanford told us, my coverage begins when the ball's in the air. When it's a big man like Calvin Johnson, it's hard not to keep that contact, want to keep that contact, and get tied up like that.
That's as good as a 14-yard pass completion on that penalty. Still a lot of time left in this game.
Yeah, there is. Now, Oakland's going to stay in a much more passive coverage than they've been all day long. They're going to make Detroit go the distance.
Looking to Young. Good coverage. Deep in that Raiders secondary. Cameron Wembley putting a big hit on Stafford, who's shaken up.
See Wembley looping inside here. Good clean hit. No helmet to helmet, no hand to the helmet. It wasn't late. No impetus at the end, so no penalty. He just gets tied up going down and dust himself off, come back with another throw.
Through the hands of Young. That's a ball that needs to be caught.
It's a well-thrown ball. The young receiver, Young, right in his hands. Probably got a little distracted there with Giordano underneath. I don't know if he tipped it, but he clearly distracted Titus Young from the catch.
3rd and 10. Good throw and a catch by Pettigrew, who's run out of bounds at the 41-yard line. That'll be a first down. Clock stops, 7:20.
Just a nice throw and catch here between Stafford and Pettigrew. Both first-round draft choices in the same year. I would thought we have seen more of Pettigrew today, with obviously coverage being geared to take away Calvin Johnson away.
Stafford looking to Calvin Johnson. Great coverage that time by Ralph. Can't do it any better than that.
And that's a classic type of throw to Calvin Johnson. They just hang it up, let him use his size and his jumping ability. This is what Stanford Rat was telling us about, that when you play Calvin Johnson, the coverage begins when the ball's in the air.
Interesting thing there is Johnson had him beat in the middle of the field, and the throw went back toward the sideline.
Yeah, they were still working for that jump ball, though. That was kind of an after the fact.
He finds Johnson, who stiff arms out of one tackle, and he's to the 15-yard line. Just under 7 minutes to go, but plenty of time for the Lions to get back in this thing.
And again, we keep seeing it's the inside crossing routes like you see here, or the digs they call on the outside. Oakland doesn't want to sit in just a passive coverage, prevent, you know, the old saying that prevent defense prevents you from winning. You got to change it up a little bit, but you leave the center of the field vulnerable.
Boy, Pettigrew had his hands on it. Rolando McClain in coverage.
Number 87, Brandon Pettigrew.
Maybe you have to see that one again. That looked like a good throw by Stafford.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it got tipped late or, again, you can just see inside. Nope, had a clean one. Just needed to put the thing away.
Seven of them today, 3 by Pettigrew alone. And Pettigrew can't hang on to this one. That was a tougher catch in the last one. I almost wonder sometimes if secondary of the Raiders aren't getting in the head of Pettigrew a little bit. He's been jawing all day long.
Well, that's just good coverage there. You know, part of the problem with Pettigrew early in his career, he's still a young player, was there would be some inconsistencies. Great catches, go a couple games, then fall off a little bit. Scott Lanahan said he has gotten past that. He's turned into a real professional, a real go-to guy for Matthew Stafford. But those last 2 plays, he needed to impact this game.
8 play to drive, 3rd and 10. Pettigrew hangs on this time, and he's a load to bring down. All right, now, if you're Jim Schwartz, you're at 6 minutes, you need points, it's 4th down. Are you kicking a field goal, or are you going for it?
You've got to go for it, in my opinion, because the way this game's gone, the clock, you're under 6 minutes now. It's a 2-score game, clearly. You're counting on basically a 3-score game, depending upon how the game goes. The rest of the way, and at 5:46 now, I don't think you have enough time. I think he has to go for it here.
Timeout going to be called by the Raiders before
Timeout.
4th and 2. I want to get back to after the commercial. Why not take the points here and try to get the ball back one more time?
Well, with a 13-point spread, clearly on a 4th down, Jim Schwartz going to go for it. If they can get it in here, they're still in this game.
Absolutely. The field goal does you know good, because it's still a 2-possession or 2-score differential. With that kind of time factor, not going to be it. It's all right here. If they can't score, though, they've come from behind, like we said, in the early part of the season a number of times. They've been here before.
They were stopped on a 4th down. And a yard earlier. This time Stafford's going to keep it himself, and he will get the 1st down. So 1st and goal for the Lions inside the 5. And now Stafford trying to get him up to the line of scrimmage.
Because time is a factor. He's exactly right.
Clock rolling down to the 5-minute mark.
They may run the same play.
And that is a touchdown in the corner of the end zone to Titus Young. And the Lions will now kick the extra point. And if the extra point is good,
just a
back, within 6.
Just a back shoulder throw to Titus Young. This was the call all the way. It's all or nothing when you make that kind of throw. Look at this. He pushes. He knows right now that ball's on the way before he even comes out of it. He knows exactly where the ball has to be. That was an excellent throw by Matthew Stafford.
Stafford has just tied a Detroit Lions single-season record with his 32nd touchdown pass of the year. Scott Mitchell threw 32 of them back in 1995. So after an extremely quiet second half, with his team really up against it, Stafford, who had hit on just 5 of 11, takes his team down the field and gets him into the end zone. He ran it on a 4th down and 2 to keep the drive alive, and then on the next play finds Young for the touchdown.
And this is going to be clearly in the Oakland Raiders court now in terms of maintaining possession. This is not a place for an onside kick. I'm sure there's a number of people going, well, is there enough time for that? Should we go for an onside kick? There's more than enough time at 4 minutes and 59 seconds. You're going to put it on your defense now if you're the Detroit Lions. And for Oakland, it's the classic 4-minute offense. Grind the clock down, try to generate a first down or so. The priority is obviously that if we've got to give the ball back to the Detroit Lions, we do it with as little time as possible. And if they watched TV last week, I'm sure they're going to learn from Marion Barber, stay in bounds.
Rock Cartwright has dropped back to receive the kickoff. You may remember the Lions had to burn a timeout when they had too many men on the field prior to an Oakland field goal try. So the Lions have 2 remaining. Cartwright has not returned a kick today. He touches the ball for the first time. The first down from the 15 with 4:54 to go. Game break time. Here's Kurt.
Well, it's a long way from over, but it's a long way from over. In Denver, Tim Tebow, 2-yard touchdown run. His second rushing touchdown of the game. It's 34-23, but there's still 8.5 minutes left. And once again, we're never going to say this thing is finished until it's finished. Tom?
Well, we saw Tebow time up close and personal in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago. Of course, that great run began against these Oakland Raiders for Tim Tebow. Bush carries for 12 on first down up to the 28-yard line.
And this play has been, I want you to look at the separation here between the C and the D gap. The linebacker, Levy, has to step up and close that more effectively with these wide ends of the Detroit Lions. That is the area that's been gashed in this Detroit Lions defense and why they're 27th in the league against the run.
Clock closing in on 4 minutes to go. They hand it off again to Bush, and a pretty good run. And Detroit will spend a timeout. The Lions have 1 timeout left.
Yeah, and they had to use the timeout here within this series. They desperately have to get them to punt here, because by utilizing the timeout, obviously, if they get another first down, they're going to be able to take off a huge chunk of clock if they get an additional first down.
This February, defending Sprint Cup Series champion Tony Stewart and the rest of NASCAR's best converge at the Daytona International Speedway, NASCAR's biggest race. The Great American Race with the 54th running of the Daytona 500 on February the 26th. Second down and 7. Bush again, and this is a first down. He hangs onto the football all the way up to the 45-yard line.
We've seen this play countless times all day long. Again, look at the separation. Vanden Bosch up the field. Levy comes in and tries to seal it, but there is space between the tackle and Levy where he comes in. They've taken advantage of this spacing of this wide defense of the Detroit Lions all day long.
Lions have spent their final timeout. You know, we talked about Well, for the Lions coming into this game, could they stop the run of the Raiders even without McFadden? Well, Bush is really heated up as this game has moved along. In this quarter alone, 7 carries, 44 yards. The Lions offensively did nothing until their last drive. Boy, and they're still just a little bit under 4 minutes to go. But if the Lions can't force a turnover and make a play, they will have spent this third to last weekend of the season with an enormous missed opportunity. 2 of the teams in close pursuit behind them, the Giants and the Bears, both losing earlier today. You'd have had a full 2-game spread on the 2 teams directly behind you. Instead, if you lose today, it is still only a 1-game lead.
And neither of these teams has playoff experience. Certainly members of the staff, individual players. But the Raiders haven't been in the playoffs since 2002. The Lions haven't been there since 1999. It begs the question on these teams, where do you look for that leadership? How do you learn to close out games and win that way? And that's what these 2 teams are struggling with, at least today, that Detroit's struggling with right now. The Raiders on top and are learning that lesson as we go.
And of course, Carson Palmer, although he played for a franchise that certainly is not known for winning, coming from Cincinnati, the bottom line is Palmer did direct a pair of divisional championships there, and you may remember he's injured on that terrible play, the first play of the game against the Steelers.
And Richard Seymour coming from New England on the defensive side of the ball. So you have players you can lean on, but collectively, these are where you learn what it is to be a playoff team.
Well, this is a chance to seal it for the Raiders, or get the football one more time if you're the Lions. And Palmer for the home run ball and misses a wide open Chaz Schilens. Now, having said all that about Palmer, he has had 2 wide open receivers in the game today and missed them both.
But I don't know if this is a miss or whether this should have been, you know what? I don't know that you can throw it much better than that. He had both hands on that ball. That's a pretty good throw. I think Chaz Schilens should have come up with that one. But you talk about an all or nothing throw on that down in distance with the game on the line.
Well, the Lions are going to get it back. Leckler high, angle to the sideline. And this will be down at the 1. We talked about the Oakland kicking game. They might have their ups and downs on offense and defense, but they are lights out as their place kicker and their punter.
That was a heck of a punt. If you're going to beat us, you're going to go the distance. Here it was earlier. Nice touch on the ball, just a little bit off stride here, just outside the reach of Moore. And this last one, again, in my opinion, a more catchable one. But again, a shot down the field. What do we say? A game of inches. And now it's literally, well, not quite inches, but close to it. Backed up on the goal line.
No timeouts for the Lions.
Matthew Stafford's pass intended for his running back.
Dominic Raiola was shaken up on that first down throw.
2nd and 10 from the 2.
You just need that first play to kind of get you started. Smith, he was going to turn and run before he had the ball. You just need that one play to get you a little separation when you're backed up on your own goal line.
There's a little bit of loosening of the tie. It gets them up to close to the 10-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 2 as we have reached a 2-minute warning. This one not over yet. Lions with the ball, trailing by 6. 3rd down and 2. 2-minute warning. Lions down by 6 from their own 10-yard line. Out of timeouts.
Raiders showing pressure, then back out.
What a throw by Stafford, and that's good enough for a first down to Burleson up to the 19-yard line, and the clock running. And again, the Lions with no timeouts remaining. Stafford hit as he threw it, and he gets it to Johnson, and yes, it is a catch at the 40-yard line.
Boy, this is one heck of a throw. Lays it to the outside, long arms. He had the feet in, going to the ground, kept the ball through the process clearly. Gets wrapped up just as he lets go of the ball. Almost thrown up a prayer, not quite.
So they spot it at the 39-yard line. Clock at a minute 33.
Okay, they're looking at it upstairs.
The previous play is under review.
I think they want to see if actually Johnson got both feet down. Did he just have one down before he went out of bounds? It is a booth review.
The fate of mankind.
Let's kick some.
Comes down to the epic 2-hour finale. Terra Nova, tomorrow at 8, 7 Central on Fox.
The original crew of Napoleon Dynamite is coming.
My pack!
Grandma.
We're gonna do some stretches you might not want to see.
Kid.
Oh boy.
Uncle Rico.
You look like an Acapulco cliff diver.
And Pedro.
Thanks for taking me to Mexico.
That was my house.
Napoleon Dynamite, the 2-episode premiere, Sunday, January 15th.
Is anyone here?
Radio the station. Tell them we send everyone.
At the top of your head!
The worst criminals this country has ever known are coming back.
Police! You with me?
All the way.
Alcatraz premieres Monday, January 16th on Fox.
Is the next American Idol About time you got it. Wow, I bet you're crazy on the dance floor.
You know you're gonna be a star, right? You wanna chase your dream, you chase it.
This is your moment to shine.
American Idol premieres Wednesday, January 18th on Fox.
Clearly this looks like a catch. The question is, did he get both feet in? You've got the right foot, and then it looks like that left foot clearly drags. Again, on the field, it was ruled a catch.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a catch.
So they spot the ball at the 39-yard line. A minute 33. Lions do not have any timeouts remaining. Johnson, his first 100-plus yard receiving game in a month and a half. And his 6th overall this year. 4-man rush. Looking to Johnson, who's gotten behind the secondary, and he makes the catch at the 14-yard line.
Unbelievable. Had he been able to get that up just a fraction of a second earlier, this was a touchdown. Inconceivable that a Calvin Johnson could have gotten behind the secondary in that situation.
That is a 48-yard reception. Johnson up over 200 yards. And it's at the 13-yard line. And Stafford completed pass. There is a penalty flag. And we'll see who this one's against.
Holding, number 76, offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
That's Jeff Backus, so that'll back him up from the 14 all the way to the 24.
On the left side here at the top, just as he goes by, well, we're looking at the route first on the play. How he gets in behind the second, that's a middle linebacker down the middle of the field. Rolando McClain on what basically is a Tampa 2 that puts the linebacker down the center of the defense and the wide safeties.
It looked like Jerome Boyd in that secondary was the one who took the fake. So first and 20, looking to Johnson. Body's tangled up, and there's a flag. Stanford route again in the corner of the end zone.
Pass interference, number 26 defense. First down, spot of the foul.
He got a decent jam early, but then at some point, as he went to the side of him, you got to let him go. You have a right to that space, but as Calvin Johnson worked past him, he had a hold of him the whole way.
The spot of the foul was the 6-yard line. That is a 17-yard penalty. The Lions are 6 yards away from tying this game, and probably
Calvin Johnson's got help over the top. He's probably going to have to go someplace else.
Pump fake. He had an eye on Pettigrew. Good coverage in the back of the end zone. 43 seconds remain, and Stafford appears to be shaken up. I mean, he's a little wobbly walking around back there.
I can't imagine that they're going to do anything to leave Calvin Johnson not doubled up. So the best size matchup you have is Brandon Pettigrew against your safeties or linebackers, or to throw to a Burleson or a Young underneath and let them shake someone off to get into the end zone.
Johnson in the back of the end zone, and it's a touchdown with 39 seconds remaining. And now a point after away from going ahead. What an unbelievable last 2.5 minutes of this game.
Tom, we started this on the 1-yard line after a tremendous punt by Leckler. You talk about being thrown into the breach. Matthew Stafford, on his 27th start, he's going to throw this up at the back of the end zone. Actually ends up with one-on-one coverage. Megatron, Calvin Johnson, number 81. Using the size, the speed, the strength, working the feet inbounds. This is something you build on right here with Detroit. We talked about it, developing the pedigree, the mentality, the mindset to go into the playoffs.
Well, now the enormous point after by Hansen, who has not missed a PAT all year. And it is good with 39 seconds remaining. They go 98 yards in 1 minute and 35 seconds.
Wow. Now let's.
And again, you go back to that play where they hit Johnson wide open down the middle of the field when your team is trying to protect a 6-point lead.
Let's also keep in mind, we've talked about it the whole game. Sebastian Janikowski, as big a leg as there is, 39 seconds is a lot of time. It's not like you've got to get this thing way down to get this in range. And again, this is going to be the head scratcher, how you end up with the Calvin Johnson down the middle of the field with Rolando McClain and Jermaine Boyd on the outside. How you not have a safety deep down the middle of the field to not let the big play happen. Right now they're trying to figure it out here. Who belonged where?
Denarius Moore is waiting back. The Raiders have 2 timeouts left. And Moore from the goal line. What a tackle. Made right at the 15 by Wendling. And he'll stay on the field to play defense. Detroit offensively had done nothing in the entire second half. Until 2 drives ago, Stafford had hit on 5 of 11 for 36 yards in the half. He throws 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes to give his team this 1-point lead. So you figure to give Janikowski a shot, you figure 60 and in, you're giving him a shot. You need to get to the 41-yard line. Palmer starts off with a completed pass to Boss up to the 28. Timeout, Oakland.
Timeout, Oakland. Their second charge.
You go back to the 3rd down and 2, where they went for the put-away play. And Brian, I know you felt like, perhaps Schillens, if he got a hand on it or two hands on it, had a chance to make the catch. But it certainly wasn't an easy catch. He left his feet. And that's one of those plays where if you call it and the quarterback lays it right on stride to the receiver, you look like a genius. You call it and you miss it, you stop the clock and you punt it to the other team, they're going to be asking you about it after the game.
Yeah, I mean, we look through, in the NFL, you look through any call through the prism of if it works, you're smart. If it doesn't, you're the village idiot.
So now Palmer on first down, rolling, throws, finds Boss again, who gets out of bounds, and all of a sudden the Raiders are knocking on the door.
That door all but being 50 yards away, meaning the door of Sebastian Janikowski. They've got a timeout here. They have a lot of latitude because they're about 8 to 10 yards. Now, it's still a heck of a field goal, don't get me wrong. But this guy has proven he's got the leg. They've got confidence in it. And that timeout is going to be huge for them. That gives you a lot more options. You can throw in the middle of the field or drop the ball off if need be.
Palmer, pump fake, is hit from behind and hangs on to the ball. Avrill's the guy that got him, and the Raiders are going to have to call that timeout now to stop the clock with 12 seconds.
And that sack is as big about having to gobble up the timeout as it is the yardage lost. Continue to circle around Averill, who's been big all year long, coming in from behind. This is incredible. I'll tell you what, Carson Palmer holding on to this ball. Incredible amount of strength to hold on to this. But the fact that they had to burn the timeout now is as significant as the sack.
You almost wonder how guys are able to do what Palmer just did.
Oh, my God.
Hold on to that ball.
How does it not come out?
All right, Brian, what are you thinking here? You need to pick up roughly, to put it at a 60-yard field goal, you need to pick up 13.
Here's the difficulty. You got to be 18 seconds or more to be able to run your field goal team on. So any throw right now has to be catch and out of bounds, or you have time to you can kill the clock. They can throw it, drop it off, and dirt it, but that's a lot of orchestration there. It almost has to be an outside throw.
Bobbling, almost really fortunate for the Raiders that ball wasn't caught, because there wasn't going to be enough time where Hayward Bay was to get onto the field.
Well, now you've got strictly, you have no time but to make the outside throw. There is no room to throw the ball in the middle of the field, even if you get the first down, what you were just alluding to get up and dirt the ball. So this is all or nothing. Obviously, even for Sebastian Janikowski, this is outside his range. This has got to be an outside throw with a catch and out of bounds.
Short drop, outside throw. Houshmandzadeh stops the clock with 4 seconds left, and they're going to give Janikowski a chance.
Wow.
This would be, depending on where they spot it, the longest field goal in the history of the NFL. Janikowski shares the record of 63 yards for the longest ever. This would be from 65 yards, never done before in the history of the NFL. And it still hasn't. It was blocked at the line of scrimmage, and the Detroit Lions, an improbable win. They looked all but dead on a day where we mentioned would they fail to take advantage of the two teams behind them in the NFC to lose, and Matthew Stafford pulls out the miracle. What a finish for the Detroit Lions.